Let's picture a world 1.6 million years ago. Forget cities, forget houses, forget everything you know about safety. Life back then was brutally simple. Kill or be killed. There was no civilization, no police, no hospital. Early humans, our ancestors, lived just one single mistake away from a violent death. This wasn't a heroic age of exploration. It was an age of constant, grinding fear. This is the story of how our species was forged in the crucible of terror, where every sunrise was a victory and every sunset a question of survival. The world itself was built to kill you. The ancient savannas were vast, open plains burning under an unforgiving sun, offering no shade and nowhere to hide. The forests, though cooler, were even worse. Every shadow could hide a predator. Every rustle of leaves could be your last sound. Food wasn't a guarantee, it was a rare prize, fiercely contested. A simple broken leg wasn't an inconvenience, it was a death sentence. A deep cut from a sharp rock meant infection, weakness, and ultimately, becoming an easy meal for something else. In this world, humans were not the dominant species. We weren't even close. We were tolerated prey, living on the margins, surviving on scraps and luck. Let's meet our protagonist, Homo erectus. And let's be clear, they were not the chiseled heroic figures you see in museums. They had one major advantage: they walked upright. That was it. Their tools were crude stones, barely effective against thick hides or determined attackers. Their reflexes were slow, compared to the lightning-fast predators they faced. They had no claws, no fangs, no natural armor. Their only real weapon was their budding intelligence, this new spark of awareness that allowed for basic planning. But even that was a fragile defense against a world of muscle, teeth, and instinct. They were survivors, yes, but not heroes. They were just trying to see another day. Now, let's meet the nightmares that haunted their every step. Imagine a hyena, but bigger, stronger, and far more terrifying than any you've seen today. This was the giant cave hyena. Weighing over 200 pounds, its jaws were built for one purpose: crushing bone. They had a bite force stronger than a modern lion's. They hunted in large, aggressive packs, and they weren't just scavengers, they were apex predators. A lone human caught in the open wasn't a challenge, it was free meat. These creatures were the embodiment of brute force, capable of tearing a killer or a human apart in moments. The sound of their calls in the night was a promise of death. But the hyenas weren't the only threat. Stalking the grasslands were the ancestors of the modern wolf. These weren't just dogs. They were relentless, organized killing machines. They moved with a chilling silence, their padded feet making no sound on the dry earth. They were masters of strategy. A pack wouldn't just rush in blindly. They would test, probe, and harass their target, looking for any sign of weakness, any hint of exhaustion. A stumble, a moment of hesitation, a single person falling behind the group, that was all it took. The instant they sensed an opening, the pack would close in like a tightening net. There was no outrunning them. There was no escape. Now, let's paint a scene. A small group of Homo erectus, their stomachs aching with hunger, spots a carcass in the distance. Maybe an antelope taken down by age or injury. The risk is immense, but hunger is a powerful motivator. It overrides fear, just for a moment. They approach cautiously, crude stone choppers in hand. But the smell of blood travels far on the wind. It's a dinner bell for the entire ecosystem. Before the humans can even begin to butcher the meat, they arrive. First, the hyenas, their massive forms lumbering over the ridge, drawn by the scent. Then, from the tall grass, the wolves emerge, silent and watchful, their yellow eyes fixed on the prize. The air crackles with tension. The humans shout, wave their arms, and throw stones, a desperate display of noise and aggression. In the ensuing chaos and panic, someone trips, someone falls. In that instant, it's over. The predators surge forward. That person is already dead. So, with all this stacked against them, how did humans ever survive? How are we even here today? It wasn't because of individual strength or solitary courage. A lone human was a dead human. They survived for one reason: each other. They survived through numbers, through noise, and through basic, unrefined coordination. When a group of humans stood together, Yelling and throwing stones, it created confusion, made predators hesitate. That split second of hesitation, that moment of a predator calculating the risk versus the reward, was the tiny window in which humans survived. They weren't winning fights. They were just convincing the monsters of the world that they weren't worth the trouble. Cooperation wasn't a choice. It was the only strategy. These constant, brutal pressure is what shaped us. Evolution isn't a gentle, gradual process. In this era, it was a violent reaction to a violent world. Fear sculpted the human brain. The ones who were better at reading threats, better at communicating danger, better at working together, they lived. The ones who didn't, died, and their genes died with them. Cooperation became an unbreakable law, coded into our DNA. Leaders emerged not because they were the strongest, but because they were the best at making the group act as one. Hesitation killed groups. Indecision killed groups. The need to survive forced us to become social, to rely on each other, to form the first fragile bonds of community. This is the final chilling truth. This is the furnace where humanity was forged. Not in peaceful valleys or comfortable caves, not in quiet contemplation. We were born in an environment of constant heart-pounding terror. The world was a battlefield, and our ancestors were the terrified soldiers on the front line, every single day. Miss one signal from a lookout, lose one member of your small band, make one wrong turn and you risk extinction. That razor's edge between survival and annihilation is where we come from. Time. You feel that instinct to look over your shoulder. Every time you find comfort in the presence of friends and family, you are feeling the echo of that ancient world. Thank you for watching. If you found this journey into our past fascinating, please like this video and subscribe for more.